This is the Zeiss Icon Super Ikonta 533 camera. It is a compact folding medium format 6x6 camera. And the question today is this my next everyday carry camera? Now, as you may know, I switched last year to shooting mostly with the Fujifilm GX680 camera for my portrait work. However, that is a very, very large and very, very heavy camera, and not the kind of thing that I want to be toting around everyday carries. And so I've been on the hunt for an everyday carry camera. I've been looking at Leica M7s, Leica MP, Voigtlander Bessa, Minolta CLEs, and then I came across this one, this at a tag sale. And the nice thing about the Super Ikonta is that it takes 120 film, and so I'm shooting the same film that's going in my Fuji. So this is going to be 120. I can still shoot my Ilford FP4, ISO 125. It's going to look great through the Carl Zeiss f2.8 lens. This is an 80mm Tessar f2.8 on here, which I think is super fast considering how small and compact this camera is. The Super Ikontas were made from the late 1930s until the mid 1950s. I'm going to guess this one is post-war, probably late 40s, early 50s. This one has a coupled rangefinder, all the Super Ikontas do. And so I'm able to focus through the viewfinder with the rangefinder. And the wheel right here turns the lens for focusing. And so this one also has a meter here that is not coupled. It will give you a reading through the selenium meter. And then if we adjust the dial here, you'll see the meter move and the needle move. And once I get the correct exposure, I can then transfer this to the lens. So I would actually have to set the aperture and shutter speed here on the lens. Once that is set, you can then go ahead and cock the shutter. And now your camera is ready to fire. So the Super Ikonta also has a film advance wheel right here. The wheel also has a flip out lever to make it easier to turn. I actually find it easier to just use my thumb on the back of it here. So as you turn it, it will advance the film to the next frame. But what's nice about this camera is it actually stops right there. It won't go past, so you don't have to worry about spacing on your frames, and you also don't have to worry about ever double exposing an image. Back of that wheel actually has a film counter, and so you can see right here, now we're on frame number 2. And as I take the next picture, advance that, it will move to the number 3. So now we're on 3. So shooting 6x6, this will give me 12 exposures on a roll of 120 film. And so it's nice to be able to have that counter and not necessarily have to look at the back of the camera. Camera also has a window here that allows you to see the back paper on that roll of 120 film. This will allow you to then see the frame number that way. One of the things you may notice about this camera is when you unfold it, the bed here actually sits a little bit lower than the camera itself, and so if you were to put it down onto a table, it would start to tilt backwards. Zeiss has actually fixed this by adding this little foot that can come down here. So if I just push this down, it brings a foot down, and now that sits level with the table, and so you don't have to worry about it tipping over. So if you're going to sit it down, that's a really nice way to do it. You can leave it open, or if you decide that you're going to close the camera, you just lift that foot back out of there, and then when you close the camera up, it will sit flat on the tabletop as well. Right here we have the selenium meter, a door for the selenium light meter. Also, if we wanted to use our Profoto lighting with that, I can use the Profoto Air Remote, the old style, like this one. And we just put that onto a female hot shoe cord. So we just hook this up to the PC sync on the other end. I can then slide this right onto the cold shoe of the Zeiss and then plug in the PC sync right into the lens itself. And so that looks kind of like this. You'll want to make sure that this cord does get out of the way of the lens. If it's hanging down in front of the lens, you won't see it because, again, it's a rangefinder, viewfinder, so I wouldn't necessarily see that. You want to make sure that that cord stays out of the way. I could tuck it up here possibly. Tuck it up behind the remote. We can then focus and fire. So now we're using off-camera strobe with a 75-year-old camera. So a couple things that I noticed about this, it is a very heavy camera. And so, if you're hanging it off your neck, it's not going to be the most comfortable for a long period of time. But I wore this for a short period of time walking, with just the shoulder strap on my shoulder and off to the side, and it was actually pretty comfortable that way. It felt a little bit like when I was carrying my X Pro 3 with like a 50mm lens on there. It's maybe slightly heavier, but it's definitely more compact. It's a nice narrow body, so it doesn't really feel like it's rubbing up against you very much. I will say the downside to this is probably where the strap lugs are placed. It's nice that it has strap lugs, but they're definitely forward facing. And so what ends up happening is when you wear it on your body, it starts to tilt backwards towards you a little bit and pull away. So you can see that here. I was actually surprised when I got it home that I noticed that it had a roll of film in it. And so I finished out the roll and wound it forward and opened it up. It was actually Kodak Ektar 25, ISO 25. And so that was made probably in the late 80s, early 90s. So that was probably the last time this camera was used. So 75-year-old camera, probably the last time it was used was about 25 or 30 years ago. That being said, it's actually in pretty good condition. Everything seems to be working on it. When I inspected it, you can see that the bellows do have a little bit of wear, as you would expect on a 75-year-old camera. If I do get this repaired, CLE, clean, lubricate, and adjust, I'll probably also have those bellows replaced, just so I have new, fresh ones and I don't have to worry about that. The other thing I noticed, and this is probably the biggest reason to have this camera serviced, is that when you open it up in the back and you look through this, we're going to set the camera to bulb for a second, the shutter. I'm going to set the shutter to bulb, and when I open the lens up, cock the shutter, open the lens up, you can actually start to see a little bit of fungus or mildew building up inside that lens. And this is pretty common for cameras of this age. It's also common for cameras that have bellows because of the organic nature of the way that fungus gets in there. Unfortunately, that's something that I will definitely need to have cleaned out before I start using this camera. I don't want to end up with a lot of reduced sharpness. I don't want to end up with a lot of reduced contrast. And so that needs to be serviced before we keep it. So the question is the Super Ikonta worth getting serviced? Spend about $200 to get it fixed up and be my everyday carry camera? Or should we just go ahead and sell it and put the funds towards one of the cameras that I have been looking at, possibly a Leica MP, possibly a Voigtlander Bessa? So let me know what you think. Should we go ahead and get it fixed and use it as an everyday carry camera? Or should we go ahead and sell it? If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. And if you want more future videos, film photography, and darkroom, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.